These homegrown extremists are ticking time bombs.
We were on that side of the lake having dinner, and then the whole group was yelling Ku Klux Klan all over and over and over again.
When German national Saskia Alling moved to Victoria, this is the last thing she thought she'd encounter.
We heard them starting to yell Heil Hitler.
It's the Australia Day weekend and a group of neo-Nazis is camping illegally at the foot of the Grampians National Park in Western Victoria.
The other side of the lake is where people, like families, go for dinner and like all kinds of backgrounds, and everyone's welcome here.
Around 40 white men linked to the so-called National Socialist Network hike through the mountains. Some are wearing army fatigues and all are covering their faces. They burn a cross, raise their arms in Nazi salutes and record this video. A nod to a hate group whose white supremacist agenda inflicted terror across the United States. Saskia and several others call police. Officers from the state's counter-terror command promptly called back, asking them to take photos.
People were shocked and not okay with it.
But it's what happens next in nearby Halls Gap that beggars belief. A number of residents have detailed watching this group march through town chanting white power. Many locals are too terrified to speak on camera, fearing retribution, but say they hope to never see this mob here again.
They were doing the Hitler salute to people in town, to just randoms, to everyone who walked past them.
Yes, we were hailing Hitler. We were. Adolf Hitler is the greatest man to have lived in the last 2,000 years. And that's why we say white power.
Neo-Nazi movement just has no place in Australia.
Peter Dutton is Australia's Home Affairs Minister.
Kids and adults can be turned very quickly and become martyrs for these causes.
A Current Affair has obtained access to encrypted chat rooms where the National Socialist Network is actively hunting recruits, vowing to impose a white revolution and destroy the modern world. Members as young as 16 pose at major landmarks and roam Australian universities, leaving behind a trail of racist propaganda. They gather in broad daylight in suburbs and cities across the country, and experts fear there may be dozens more similar groups lurking in the shadows.
They dream of an Australian Hitler.
Dr. Dvir Abramovich is one of the country's leading anti-hate campaigners.
The danger here is that a lone individual soaking up all this propaganda and all this poisonous incitement may become convinced that the white race is dying, and this is a cause worth fighting for and worth dying for.
We don't work with we don't work with non-whites, we don't work with
This man, Aussie Thomas Sewell, is one of the leaders.
We're not asking anymore. We're not asking for your permission to do what we're doing. We're going to do it.
While Thomas claims online his group denounces violence, experts believe it's only a matter of time before far-right outfits inspire someone to commit an act of terror.
They want you to believe that it's just banter, it's perfectly within the guidelines of free speech, or it's, just a little bit of political talk. They want you to believe that. And in fact, that's how they attract people to their cause, who then go down this rabbit hole of radicalisation.
The threat is serious, increasing and evolving, according to Australia's spy agency ACA, which says right-wing radicals now occupy up to 40% of its counter-terror workload.
In suburbs around Australia, small cells meet regularly, salute Nazi flags, inspect weapons, train in combat and share their hateful ideology. ASIO
boss Mike Burgess in an interview last year.
And sadly, these groups are more organised and security conscious than they were in previous years.
Terrorism today isn't like a hierarchical structure with a base and a spiritual leader like you had with Al-Qaeda, for example, or even with ISIS. Terrorism today is carried out by individuals who have no formal kind of attachment or formal affiliation to a particular group.
In 2019, we watched in horror as New South Wales terrorist Brenton Tarrant slaughtered 51 worshippers in Christchurch. Online, he'd been interacting with Australian extremist groups.
It is not beyond the unimaginable that we will have a Christchurch in our very backyard.
We've had people arrested who have been radicalised by far-right groups,
including forklift driver Philip Galea, who was recently jailed for planning to blow up buildings occupied by leaders of the left. While in New South Wales, after police monitored online chatter, an 18-year-old accused neo-Nazi was charged, allegedly expressing a desire to carry out an act of terror.
A couple of days ago, what we observed was an escalation in the tone, which went to a support of a mass casualty event and potentially his involvement in that event.
And just last week in Perth, officers say a man with a swastika on his forehead used a makeshift blowtorch to randomly attack a mother and daughter in the middle of the street. Dr Abramovich is chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission, an advocacy group that monitors anti-Jew incidents.
Ranging from heartbreaking bullying of Jewish students to physical and verbal assaults. Anyone wearing the Nazi swastika or flying the Nazi flag is plunging a knife into the hearts of every Holocaust survivor and spitting on the grave of those Aussie diggers who fought to defeat Hitler's evil regime.
Just weeks ago, this man was snapped wearing a swastika armband at a Melbourne market, the same vile symbol we found on display in this backyard. Dvir has long been campaigning for Nazi symbols to be outlawed and far-right outfits be declared terrorist organisations.
It would allow law enforcement to seize and suspend any bank accounts or properties that they have, but also to prevent them from gathering, from recruiting, and from holding rallies.
It's something the federal government has been reluctant to do until now, planning to declare the first right-wing group a terrorist organisation.
Well, I can tell you for the first time here, because we haven't made this public yet, but Shannon Krieg is the organisation, and they have a presence that we're particularly worried about in the UK, but their reach goes into the minds of young people and Australians here. And if there are other organisations that need to be listed, ASIO will consider those matters.
Federal Labor MP Dr Anne Ali is a counter-terror expert and member of the Parliament's Security Committee, which is currently holding an inquiry into extremism.
It would look at things like the online space, the social media space. What role does that play in radicalisation?
And those encrypted platforms is what's making it so hard for authorities to disrupt extremists, who police say have exploited COVID lockdowns to radicalise Australians as young as 13.
The internet now brings much of this evil ideology into the minds of young people who are spending hours and hours behind their screens.
It is illegal in Germany. The Nazis are an illegal group, so all of their symbols, all of their sayings, it's all forbidden. Having them walking through town and being able to do that, to carry a swastika flag, and it's legal, that just, I don't understand.
Well, there's been a disturbing development in this story. A short time ago, Thomas Sewell, the extremist leader featured in our report, arrived at Channel 9 in Melbourne with one of his cronies. The pair demanded to see a current affairs staff. While they were being escorted from the building, a Channel 9 security guard was attacked and punched multiple times by Thomas Sewell. The pair then ran from the station. Victoria Police have been handed CCTV vision of the attack. Our security guard was taken to hospital by ambulance.